This is freaking amazing. A dual screen smartphone. I'm not sure you've seen something like this before with a display on the rear of the smartphone. Now, this is the Nubia Z20. This phone just launched on the market today. It goes for $549 and it is available globally. You can buy this in the US as well as in other countries as well. I'll leave a link where you can check out all the information on this phone below. But let's go ahead and go over some of the specifications. We do have a dual screen design, so that's pretty cool. We do have a Snapdragon 855 Plus. Now you're getting a Snapdragon 855 Plus in a $549 phone. That's pretty cool. Now you have a triple lens camera here, and you do have yourself a super night shot, 48 megapixel main camera with OIS, and then the other two is a 3x optical with up to a 30x digital zoom. Now you do have pressure sensitive gesture controls, dual fingerprint sensors, 4,000 milliamp hour battery, and an always on display. So opening up the box, you could see Z20 right there. Opening up this box right here, it does say German Gold Design Award right there. So I guess it's winning awards in a year we're not even in yet, 2020. So let's go ahead and check this out really quickly. And this company did include a case in the box. Now you do get a back screen protector, and I've already tested it. This case does work with the rear screen. We'll talk about and show that later. I do want you to be aware that they did send this phone out. However, I'm not paid to say anything. All opinions in this video are my own. So let's take a look at the front of this phone. So we do have a pretty much all screen phone here, and this is an AMOLED panel. Now it is pretty bare bones with the software as well. As you can see, I did install Instagram, Kindle, but there's not much to speak of in terms of bloatware and things like that. Now this is a 6.42 incher, so 6.4 inches we could call it, 401 ppi at 1080. Now most Samsung phones do give you like a higher resolution, but most people keep them in 1080 anyway, so it's plenty. Now in terms of an always on display, you do have that here as well, and they are customizable, which we'll show you in a little bit. And in terms of the body and design, you can see it's a little bit flatter at the top here. It is a curved panel and pretty curved on the back as well, but it gives you a nice way to hold on to this device so it's not too slippery on those edges. We do have a fingerprint sensor here, dual SIM card slot up there, and right here another fingerprint sensor, and nothing right here except for your volume rocker. Now at the bottom there's basically nothing. And down there, you do have yourself your USB port, USB-C actually, and speaker. On the back, you could see the Nubia branding right there. And we do have our triple camera right there with wide angle, 48 megapixel. In addition to that, you do have the telephoto, which is cool. Now, if you do turn the phone off, you can turn it on from the rear as well. It recognizes when you are on the rear without even doing anything. And you could set up these dual fingerprint sensors, whichever hand you are, lefty or righty, it's gonna work out just fine for you. Now what's really cool is that if you're using this as a rear camera, you can see that this actually is going to use a little bit worse quality, but let's say we close out this phone on the back and we're using the camera from the front. Let's go use the camera from the front, which is going to give us the higher quality video. For example, for vlogging, we can mirror the screen on the back and it's going to go ahead and show us the full quality, which can be very useful for people who usually use their rear camera to take videos because they know it's a higher quality and they can see themselves and what they're doing. This is pretty great use for something like this. So yeah, in terms of design, Gorilla Glass 5 on the front and back, so that's pretty scratch resistant, but it still will get scratched if you don't put a case on it, screen protector on it. It still has that capability, but aluminum frames are on the edges, so pretty in line with a lot of premier phones this year. Not stainless steel, but it's still very good quality. Now that back panel that you are seeing on the rear there is a 5.1 inch AMOLED display as well. So this has 330 nits of brightness on the back, so not quite as bright, but still relatively sharp. You're not really going to notice much of a difference in terms of sharpness between the back panel and the front panel, which is pretty cool. So in terms of this dual screen, you might be wondering, well, how do I switch it if I don't want to turn the phone off and switch it around? Well, you can click this button right here and you could switch screens like so. If you want to go back to the other side, just go like that. You can also remove this floating button off the screen if you don't want it in your way. And you could just use the notification up here to switch screen right there. Go ahead and hit OK. And if you turn off do not remind you no more, it won't keep reminding you to do it. It'll just automatically switch. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that right now. If I'm switching screen, don't remind, we'll hit OK. Now it'll just switch automatically from now on, without asking you every time, do you want to switch? Now there's more settings in this phone as well. And I gotta commend Nubia here for keeping this very light. The software is pretty light here. All they did was basically add their super, secondary eye care and secondary screen space options. So things you can do with that second screen. So you can mirror mode, you can do dual screen multitasking, which allows you to keep one app the focus on the front screen and a different app the focus on the rear screen. Pretty cool stuff. Now, if we go up here, we can do super eye care. So let's say you want to read at night, you want a really dim screen on the back. So now you can have this side kind of like a black and white screen if you want to do some easy on the eye reading. But then you could keep this one on color at all times. So if you want to watch a video or something, you keep it like that. So the versatility of having two screens, I think, is something that can be quite practical if you remember to use it. Now, in terms of their always on display functions, you could see plenty of customization here. You can also do your own custom always on display, but they got quite a few in here. They got some nice clocks in the software, as well as right here, some nice digital clocks. You do have some different designs right here. So in typical Android fashion, you do have a lot of customization here. And again, you could add your own custom always on displays. Nice stuff there. In addition, they also have a screen scene lighting effect. If you get calls, if you do get, if you're playing games, you can have the screen light up, as well as, with music and things like that. So lots of little neat features in here. One thing I didn't find though is the ability to remove these down here and use gestures to navigate. So you're kind of stuck with these Android buttons, at least in this current software, Android 9. Now this phone does have pressure borders as well, which is similar to what you've seen with the squeeze on the Google Pixel, but they're a little bit more customizable here. Now let me do a long hold. You could see there's the flashlight on the rear. So that could be pretty useful if you do like, squeezing your phone on the sides and, using features like that. So that can be a pretty useful feature for you in that respect. So I do like these little neat touches that they put in here. I don't think they're too gimmicky. I think you can actually make use out of these on this phone. Now, in terms of software, it is launching with the Android 9. I hope they do get this updated to 10, which I don't think should be a problem considering how close to stock this software is. I don't think it should be too big of a deal. It does have 128 gigs of storage. Discussing the battery life for this phone, 4,000 milliamp hours. So this is kind of what you need, I think, in 2019. And this phone can last. I'm getting easily through a day, and it's right up there with some flagship phones I've tested this year. So it's definitely a long-lasting battery life. However, I will say if you are switching between these screens often, it does deplete it a lot. Like if you keep switching between and keep messing around and playing around with it, it does drain the battery. But if you just stay stuck on one screen, you should be just fine. Talking about performance, the Snapdragon 855, we don't really even need to cover this. And because they went with a lighter software, the performance is fast as you would expect with a Snapdragon 855 CPU. It's up there with anything on the market with that type of CPU, but it doesn't have a 90 Hz display on this particular model, so not quite as smooth as 90 Hz super smooth display Android phones. So on this device, you have the ability to add games that you would like if you're a gamer. And also, if we go off to the side, you can block messages so people don't disturb your game. You could change the performance, check the CPU temperature, change the touch handles. And over here in our personal center, we can record things as well. In addition to that, we can take screenshots. And if you want to just quit out of here, just click this right here and quit out of the game space. So yes, there is a dedicated gaming mode for gamers. This does have an Adreno 640 GPU, so up there with premier smartphones in that platform. Let's talk about the cameras. We have a triple camera on the rear, 48 megapixel plus 8 megapixel telephoto and 16 megapixel ultra wide. Now this can do 8K video recording, which is absolutely nuts for a smartphone. I actually haven't heard of that on any smartphone. I'm not sure it's the first one to do this. I don't think it is, but in the camera, it does have a lot of these like little modes you can click off to get more zoom. So we got 3x. This also has really long digital zoom. It's gonna look pretty blurry here, but it can go up to 30x here on the zoom. Now I already took some samples. I'll show you them in a second, but you got video modes right here. Again, you can go into 8K. Now it is in beta and it's only recommended for outdoor use. It also only does 15 FPS. I found it not that usable, maybe for like doing some real video you're gonna put up online or something. I would stick to anything 4K and below, but they do give you 4K 60 on here. I haven't found a way to go ahead and record with the wide angle camera though. Now you do have a night mode, which will do a long exposure, just like most phones out there, portrait, video, photo, and you have fine-tuned control with the Pro mode right here. Of course, you can mirror this stuff on the rear screen if you would like. They did pay attention to the camera. They put quite a bit of features in here and everything's right in the camera. Don't have to go to settings to find these things. So the idea here is if you want to do a selfie, instead of a pop-up camera or something like that, we click it around, and it's gonna take a selfie with the rear screen. Now, I kind of like this a lot because I prefer not having something that is a moving part and just having a screen. So that's pretty cool, I think, to see, and it's kind of useful actually. Now, one thing I didn't like is that on the selfie camera, they automatically adjust you to look a little bit prettier than you might look, but you can also go wide here on that rear selfie, and that's an extremely wide selfie right there. So pretty useful stuff once again. So like I say, they didn't put a lot of gimmicks in here. These are actually useful features on this phone. Okay, so we took some photos. Here is your regular wide. This is 3x, and then we went 10x, and look at that. Just extremely decent. Now we do have a sun shot, and this is the wide angle right here. This is a regular wide, ultra wide. And then right here, we do have ourselves a little windmill. You could just kind of see it's got pretty good quality, I think, for the price point. Indoor shot. And it's getting harder and harder to find a phone that has a bad camera. And this one definitely doesn't have a bad camera. Now, is it the best I've ever seen? No. But is it acceptable for $549? Yes. Now, this picture right here, I took at 30x. Now, you can see that there is some blur, but the ability to get that far in on a zoom for a phone is pretty incredible. Now, this one's at 13.3, and it does shake quite a bit, so I do recommend a tripod if you do want to get these really long digital shots. And there's a cloud, and we're going to go ahead and show this once again. Now, that's 30x. Look how close we got to that cloud. Now, I'm going to say we're at least 10 miles from that cloud. Boom, you can see right there. Look at the detail. So, of course, in better lighting, you're going to get better photos, but you got to admit, not bad. Now, I took this photo. This is a selfie photo with the rear camera. I just mirrored the screen because I wanted to use the higher quality one, and you could see this definitely does not look like a selfie photo. This looks more like I used the back camera on a phone, so pretty nice. And then, of course, I took a few videos here just to see how the video does. Now, this one right here was actually the test in 8K, and you can tell it's a little bit sharper, but because the 15 FPS makes it kind of slow, it's kind of unusable, I think, for anything more than just showing off that feature. So let's go over here, and that's kind of testing the stabilization. It's a little bit choppy, so I would like to see Nubia do some updates to get the stabilization a little bit better handheld. But the color reproduction, while not the most accurate I've seen, it's acceptable for a phone of this price point. You can see, there you go. Not bad. So I really like seeing these smartphone manufacturers bring these good cameras to cheaper phones. It's really fun to have to not pay $1,000 to get really good, quality out of these smartphones. So this is pretty impressive stuff right here. And also, I just want to mention that the speakers, stereo sound, plenty loud on this phone. It does sound very good. This has Bluetooth 5.1, so extremely fast Bluetooth connections and things like that as well. And before you say, I don't like those square icons, that's also customizable. In home settings, you can go ahead and change the icon shape to circular if you're not a fan of the square default icons. And before we get up out of here, I just wanted to say that 27-watt fast charger does come included in the box. Rear screen protector we talked about. And I said I promised you guys I would show you how this case does work on the phone. And you see that even with that case on, you can still operate the rear screen. So they did think of that as well, and you can protect it and use it. Now, it does have that dotted pattern, so that might be, something you're a little bit not liking when you're looking at this display, but still it does work if you want to protect it. When you're doing a selfie, this one operates as a fill flash, and then this one operates as a regular flash for the rear camera. So in conclusion, $549, an innovative rear screen that might take off, might not. We might see more of these, we may not. Let's see how it goes, but I applaud them for taking a chance on this. We have good cameras, check. We have big battery that lasts pretty long, check. We do have a really good screen quality, check. We do have good cameras. I'm not saying best in the market, but pretty good cameras for this money. 8K video recording if you want to mess around with that. You can also use that rear camera to take videos, which is something you usually have to use a front-facing secondary camera, which is usually not as high quality as the rear one. This phone checks all the boxes, and I think it's something you should take a look at if you're looking for an Android phone that has tons of value at a lower price point and something different. So let me know your thoughts on this innovation right here. Do you think it's innovative? Do you think it's gonna take off? Do you think the foldable phone is more of a clever design with a dual screen? let us know. This is pretty different, and I thought it was pretty interesting to take a look at. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Thank you very much for watching. I will catch you all in the next episode. Be sure to be well, and peace.